Hello, my name is Rochelle. I'm a modern languages teacher specialising in Spanish, French and German for Key Stages 3, 4 and 5. And in this video, I'd like to share why I started using creative translation in the classroom, the impact I notice it to have, and how I've continued to use creative translation in my teaching practice. During my training year, I became increasingly aware that language learning is rarely linear of progress and confidence, and often the motivation we see in Year 7 students drops by the time they reach the end of Key Stage 3. And this decline in motivation is well documented in research and is particularly concerning in modern languages, where this subject is optional at GCSE and uptake has fallen. One lesson that really stayed with me during my training year was when I taught the French version of The Very Hungry Caterpillar to a Year 7 class, and I noticed student engagement was particularly high, including among learners who are normally quite reluctant in French. They seemed to be intrigued by the fact that this beloved story existed in other languages, and were determined to try to understand it just as well in French. However, following recent GCSE reforms, literary texts are no longer assessed, and as a result, many schools have removed these from their scheme of work. And whilst I understand the pressure schools face to prepare students for exams, this felt problematic to me. The national curriculum in England still explicitly encourages creative expression in modern languages at Key Stage 3, and so removing authentic texts altogether risks narrowing what language learning can be. This led me to explore creative translation, an approach that encourages students to interpret meaning creatively rather than aiming for a single correct answer. So I carried out a small research project with a Year 7 German class using authentic text and ultimately preparing students for the Anthea Bell Prize, which gave the project a real sense of purpose. And across a series of 3 one-hour lessons, students discussed meaning and culture and tone, and were given permission to make their own choices about how to translate the given text into English. And this helps students to see translation not as a test of accuracy, but as an opportunity for exploration and creative choice. The impact was really positive. Creative translation strongly supported students' autonomy and confidence and sense of belonging, which are 3 key psychological needs identified by Deci and Ryan's self-determination theory as central to motivation. Following the intervention, 75% of students from that cohort said that they would like to do more creative translation in the future, and over 60% said that doing creative translation made them want to continue learning German. So whilst creative translation isn't a GCSE requirement, these results suggest it can play a meaningful role in sustaining motivation for language learning. As a result of this work, I started embedding creativity and literature in small, everyday ways within my teaching practice, such as promoting reading for pleasure through a French comic book display and weekly comic strips that students can read at their leisure to see what they can understand and how they might translate it into English. I've also set up a creative translation club linked to the Stephen Spender Prize. So building on the prize's focus on poetry, I encourage students to explore songs in the target language and translate them into English. And this opportunity helps to broaden their exposure to authentic music and often leads to rich cultural discussions around theme and identity and voice. And these are the kind of conversations that the Key Stage 3 curriculum doesn't always have space for, but which are really important for keeping students motivated to study languages. So in short, if part of our role as teachers is to inspire and motivate learners, then creative translation offers a powerful way to do that by valuing creativity, choice, and authentic language use.